Hey friends, glad to be back and sharing a pet advancement tier list with you. On a personal note, I appreciate your patience and support while I was out dealing with a loss in the family these last couple weeks. All of your comments really meant a lot. But let's talk about pets. There are 3 ways that pets help your account. Through pet abilities from advancement, through the attack and defense bonuses that accrue when you level up your pets, and through the health and lethality bonuses from using pet taming marks. I've already done another video on pet taming mark usage strategy, linked below in the description. Please note that the choices in this video can be de-linked from that pet advancement video. That's strictly about how to use taming marks in a mathematically optimal fashion. In this case, when I talk about a tier list for pet advancement, I'm primarily talking about pet abilities and their functions. However, this cannot be disconnected from pet leveling since you need 10 levels in a pet to improve its ability. So these 2 features are inextricably linked. It gets a little more complex when you consider that rarer or later generation pets get more attack and defense stat bonuses per level. For example, my level 50 Grey Wolf provides a 5.02% stat bonus. Meanwhile, my level 50 Moose has a 9.16% stat bonus. And that value continues to increase per level as the pet rarity continues to increase. I personally consider this to be a minor factor in my tier list. Some of the pet abilities are quite unique in the game and exceptionally powerful. While the pet stats collectively add up to a lot, the difference between 1 or 2 advancement levels going into a pet of a different rarity is just not going to make as much of a difference in your account. This is especially true because I recommend taking every pet through at least a level 4 ability. The first 4 abilities only require growth manuals and nutrient potions for advancement. Both of these are easily obtainable, even as a free-to-play player, through simply completing daily pet adventures. You may from time to time be a little short on the nutrient potions, but if you're a free-to-play player, the real bottleneck for pet advancement will be Promotion Medallions. You do not get a constant stream of them like you do with the other advancement materials until they start appearing as an option in your Alliance store. I believe this was around day 180 or so in my server, but it may vary from kingdom to kingdom. If you're looking to acquire them sooner without spending, I recommend grabbing them when they rotate into the Alliance Championship store in the pet material spaces. And they can also be worth prioritizing once in a while over widgets in the Buccaneer Bounty event, where you can get 3 medallions for 10 pearls. Since widgets are locked to a specific hero and pet stats and abilities are not, they will provide better long-term value for your account than widgets, especially as a free-to-play player. So similarly, you may want to direct some of your tickets to them in Champagne Fair. So with all that in mind, let's get into the tier list with a few ground rules. I'm going to build out 2 versions of the tier list, which covers the first 4 generations of pet abilities. One is going to be more geared towards free-to-play and low-spending players, and the other will be geared more towards mid to high spenders. I think this is because they should fundamentally prioritize different things. For more info on this, check out my research prioritization guide linked below in the description. Also, don't read into the pet ability levels shown on the tier list. It's just what the abilities happen to be at when I copied the images from my account. I put this list together from over 200 days worth of trial and error playing, so my personal account status doesn't always line up with what I recommend. And also remember that I recommend advancing all abilities up to level 4 anyway, since the materials are easy enough to come by. This tier list is about which abilities you should push ahead of level 4. And finally, a special thank you to my Sloth Squad members for supporting me in creating content like this. For more info about the program, check out the link below. So let's start off with the first pet you will encounter, the Grey Wolf. I chose to put this ability as B tier, which might be surprising. This ability sounds great at first glance as it provides a temporary boost to your construction speed. Please note that this boost is additive, not multiplicative, meaning it is a 15% increase to the base construction speed exclusive of other bonuses. You should also be aware of how this ability works. It does not apply to construction already in progress, but rather it will reduce the required construction time for new construction you commence while the buff is active. This means you should try to combine it with the double time decree and the Chief Minister Castle appointment. Now in the context of our tier list, remember we're talking about if it's worth taking this ability above level 4, which is already a 12% increase to construction speed. Given this pet can only go to ability level 5, we are essentially asking if a 3% additive boost to construction speed is worth 10 promotion medallions. I believe the answer to that is yes, but it's not the resounding yes we would need for a top tier ranking here. This is because by the time you get into building true gold buildings, the true gold itself is likely to become a bigger bottleneck than the building time. Then you will end up like me with weeks worth of construction speedups you can't use yet. However, if you watch my guide to the first 100 days of Kingshot linked below in the description, then you know that the first generation of pets comes within a week after your first castle battle, and a couple weeks before the age of true gold. So if you are a free-to-play player, then this can still be helpful to invest in while you're still pushing towards Town Center level 30 during your first 100 days of the game. But simply put, as you get later in the game, this ability becomes less useful since time to build is less of a bottleneck. Our next pet is the Lynx. It provides the ability to regenerate stamina for your governor once per day, which is very helpful. This is because you should think of stamina as a perishable resource that you can use to convert into other resources like gems, purple hero shards, governor gear material, hero experience, and basic resources like food and wood. The earlier you are in the game, the more valuable each of these are. With that in mind, it is incredibly valuable to easily get it up to level 4 for the 50 extra stamina. But is it worth using promotion medallions to take it beyond this level? Well, for a free-to-play player or even low spender, I would put it at B tier. The rationale here is that you actually get diminishing returns for spending gems in a given day. In particular, after you've defeated 10 terrors, you are no longer eligible to get purple shards or gems as a reward for that day. And if you're already getting an extra 50 stamina from the level 4 ability and using Diana effectively, then you likely already have enough stamina to max out these 10 terrors every day. So the next most valuable things you can get from this incremental stamina are the hero experience, which you'll eventually max out anyway, and satin, which will no longer be a bottleneck for you when you start needing artisan's visions. Look how much extra satin I have in my inventory while waiting for artisan's visions to accumulate. And even those extra resources won't matter that much as you get later into the game. I'm currently sitting on billions of unused resources and growing, even after accounting for using them every day. And that's even after accounting for using them at the Crucible every day. So really the only time this starts to come into play is during stamina-intensive events like Cesari's Fury. If you aren't purchasing the Ultra Value monthly card and sitting on a massive stockpile of Governor stamina, then this extra stamina could be somewhat helpful. However, I wouldn't call an extra 5 or 10 stamina per day on one of these events game-changing by any means. So again, I put the ability a bit lower in the tier list, despite my enthusiasm for getting it to level 4, which is certainly a no-regrets move. Next, let's talk about the Bison. I'm going to put him at A tier, which I know sounds a bit controversial since I was just talking about how resources become less of a constraint as you get later into the game. In the case of the Bison, it's not so much the resources themselves, but rather the ability to gain them instantly, which is helpful. At level 4, you can instantly gather a resource node once every 23 hours. I believe there is value in pushing this beyond level 4 for some utility reasons. The most well-known is for Kingdom of Power, Strongest Governor, and Alliance Brawl on resource gathering point days. However, you can already do this twice a day with a 23-hour cooldown if you manage it correctly. But an extra level gives you a bit more breathing room for when life happens, and this way you can score those points more reliably. But there are actually other situations where it shines a bit more, such as Alliance Mobilization. I go into more detail in my Alliance Mobilization guide, linked below in the description, but the ability to gather resources on demand is a cornerstone of competing successfully as a free-to-play player in that event. Because you can time when you take a gathering quest in that event, you can also trigger the cooldown refresh but not actually gather the resource until the cooldown would have refreshed. This Bison trick allows you to gather 28 million resources instantly. Check out that Alliance Mobilization video for a step-by-step guide on how to do it. There are some other situations where this can come in handy, such as the True Gold Refinement event, where you only have a short amount of time to gather resources to get additional trade-in items. For whatever reason, this event usually seems to coincide with the All-Out event, which can make it especially dangerous to gather on resource nodes depending on your kingdom's rules of engagement. So overall, I find this to have much more consistent value long-term into the game than the abilities we've looked at so far. So for that reason, I put it at A tier. Now we get into the Generation 2 pets with the Cheetah. These pets came about a week after True Gold on my server, The Cheetah's ability to provide a daily income of pet food is exciting and should be brought up to level 4 as soon as possible. The sooner you do this, the more you have to spend on your pets over time. However, going beyond level 4 uses those scarce promotion medallions, so we have to decide if it's worth it. And you can promote 3 additional levels, each providing 50 more pet food per day. This actually isn't all that much if you think about it. The additional 1,500 pet food per month for 1 level higher will likely not even be enough to get you a single level above 30 or 40 depending on the pet rarity. At the same time, you still do need to get the pet food eventually to raise your pets, and this is a helpful way to increase your access to it. So the value is slightly better than the incremental construction speed of the Grey Wolf and the incremental stamina of the Lynx. Also, as a rarer pet than those two, the higher advancement levels do allow you to get a slightly higher attack and defense bonus. So it does not feel completely fair to put it in the same B tier as those other pets, so I choose to put it in the A tier, along with the Bison for a free-to-play player or low spender. It probably is worth an upgrade or two beyond level 4, but there are some better choices out there to invest in first. Next comes the Moose, with the first combat ability that you will encounter. The Horror Stare ability reduces the health of your enemy. The percent sounds like a small amount, but this registers as a special bonus in battle reports. This means it has both an additive and multiplicative component. So as your opponent's health stat grows, so too does the impact of this debuff. And health is an extremely important stat, right up there with lethality. So all of this sounds like a great ability, and objectively it is, but there is one wrinkle that reduces its value for free-to-play and low spenders. It does not help you at all as a rally joiner. For it to be active in a rally, the rally leader needs to use it. And given you're unlikely to be a rally leader in important situations as a free-to-play or low-spend player, the utility of this ability is therefore greatly diminished. In the times where you're solo marching your troops, an incremental 0.5% debuff for each advancement above level 4 will not really help you out that much. You won't earn more rewards from beasts or terrors even as a free-to-play player, since you should be able to take on the highest level ones by the time this ability comes out. It might slightly help in Alliance Championships or the occasional Swordland battle, but is it going to lead to a different reward bracket altogether in Swordland? Probably not. So when you think it through, you realize you're unlikely to get any real direct return on investment for these promotion medallions. Therefore, I unfortunately have to put an otherwise great ability at C tier priority for a free-to-play player. I still highly recommend taking it to level 4 though, and absolutely using it before any of these events. The Generation 3 pets came out on day 101 for my server. Anecdotally, I've heard that this was quite early, but you should expect them to come with Generation 3 heroes on a Monday after day 100. And this generation brings our first S-tier pet ability, the Lion's Gift of the King. When this pet was first launched, it was okay, but then received a massive buff to the ability shortly thereafter. Whenever you use this ability, it can now provide a random reward including up to 8 charm guides or charm designs, up to 3 forge hammers, up to 5 artisan's visions, and up to 15 true gold. Every single one of these is an extremely high value item in the game, and, maybe with the exception of the charm guides, is likely to be bottlenecking your account advancement in some way. Given this, it is extremely valuable to advance the pet tier ability level as quickly as you can to permanently increase your rate of income for these super rare items. Each level reduces the cooldown time by 4 hours until it tops out at level 8 with a 23-hour cooldown time. This ensures you can use the ability every day with some wiggle room to make sure you don't miss it. In addition, as a purple rarity pet, you'll also get a better stat return on your investment in this pet than we have with any of the ones we've previously discussed. So this pet is worth all the medallions you can throw at it. The other Generation 3 pet is the Grizzly Bear, who comes with another combat ability. This one provides an enemy lethality debuff. Just like the Moose ability we discussed, it's a special bonus, which means it will continue to scale as you progress in the game. However, also like the Moose ability, it is only effective if you are the rally leader. Now this one has an interesting ancillary benefit to the ability in that it increases march speed of your troops. Please note that this is solo march speed and not rally march speed, so it's only going to matter in a few areas. So it won't help you attack the bear in bear hunt any faster, for instance, but it will let your troops march back to your city slightly faster to get to the next rally before others. It can also help you score casualty points in castle battle with solo marches slightly faster, assuming you can keep up with the healing. It can also help you score points quicker in events like the beast slaying event, especially combined with Diana and Fahad. However, these sorts of speed bonuses are frequently not active in game modes like Eternity's Reach, where you would hope to use the ability to fight Cesares quicker. So overall, as a free-to-play player, you will again not get too much out of spending the pet medallions to take this ability beyond level 4. Each advancement level only increases the march speed bonus by 2% per level anyway. So I put this ability at B tier with the other sort of useful abilities due to the situational utility of the march speed, and the fact that as a purple rarity pet, the stats per level are higher than that of the moose. Gen 4 pets came out on my server a little after day 180, at the same time as the Gen 4 heroes. This generation gave us 2 new pets, with the first being the giant Rhino. And his wild charge ability increases all squads' attack. It increases by 0.5% per level up until level 4, after which it is a 1% increase per level. Just like the pet debuff abilities, this is classified as a special bonus, which means it scales to greater effect as your total attack increases. While this can be significant at high levels, especially considering that it goes all the way up to level 10 advancement, it still has the same limitation for only applying to solo marches or rallies that you are leading. And outside of those circumstances, the only other benefit is the stat increase per level that the pet advancement allows since it raises the cap. Therefore, for free-to-play and low spenders, I put this in the C tier. Again, absolutely get this to level 4 due to the stats alone. It's a good return on investment for just growth manuals and nutrient potions, but the opportunity cost of the promotion medallions is too high given the limited number of uses for this ability. The other Generation 4 pet, the Mighty Bison, provides a combat ability that is much more relevant for free-to-play players. The Fearless Roar ability increases squad capacity by 1500 per ability level. This may not sound like a lot, but it is actually a big deal for a variety of reasons. First, it is one of the few combat bonuses that you can take advantage of as a rally joiner, since it allows you to send more high-level troops to fill a rally. This will become increasingly important as low spenders and early servers eventually make their way deeper into true gold levels, or even begin to specialize into tier 11 troops through the War Academy. This will potentially make the difference in helping your alliance hold the castle or a key building in Swordland, for example, because you will be able to send more high-level troops to fill rallies. And increasing your deployment capacity helps provide a meaningful return in other situations as well. For instance, in Viking Vengeance, by the time you are at Generation 4 pets, it's likely that you will have more troops than you can fit into all of your marches. So having this ability built up enough to send an extra 10 to 15,000 troops for each of your marches will improve the number of points you can earn from defeating Vikings for other players, while also reducing the number of Vikings you defeat in your own city, and thus improving your alliance members' scores as well. So if everyone in your alliance does this, it can make a huge difference to allow all of you to get those precious Artisan's Visions from the new difficulty levels added shortly before Generation 4. This can also help make you more competitive on solo marches in events like Swordland Showdown and Eternity's Reach. However, it will not help in events like Tri-Alliance Clash, where the number of troops are predetermined. It also allows you to fit more of your own troops into a Wales rally for Bear Hunt, but this will come at the expense of other players' troops competing for that same space. It also means you can send larger troop solo marches in Castle Battle if you're trying to earn faster casualty points for individual leaderboard rewards. A nice side benefit of this ability is that it will increase your total rally size as well, since your rally size is a combination of your own deployment capacity plus your rally capacity. So even though you'll be a rally leader way less frequently than your spending players, it may be helpful in a pinch to give you a numbers advantage. So overall, I put this ability into S tier because it provides both a meaningful return to your account progression by improving your ability to get rewards across multiple events. It also helps your alliance in competitive battle situations as a rally joiner, which sets it apart from other combat-oriented pet abilities. And finally, as an orange rarity pet, the stat boost per advancement level will be higher than the other pets that we talked about. So overall, this leaves us with a tier list for our Generation 1 through 4 pets, looking at their advancement beyond level 4. Again, all pets should be advanced up to ability level 4, irrespective of where they are in this tier list, as they're all good to have in some way and the stats are a good return on investment for the easier to come by pet materials. But it's those promotion medallions you really need to ration according to the tier list. Now this is all helpful if you're a free-to-play player or a low spender, but how does this change when you get to mid or high-end spending? Well, quite a few of these abilities start to switch around a bit. In general, the tier list starts to favor the combat abilities significantly more than the growth abilities. It also favors the rarer pets even further, since combat stats have more value for players who are more likely to lead rallies. More specifically, the Grey Wolf ability drops down to C tier, since building time is not really a bottleneck by the time these pets come out. And you'll likely have even more weeks than I do of speed up stored. Perhaps there is still value if you're trying to be the very first on your server to hit new true gold levels when they're launched, but in general, you won't get as much utility here. Similarly, the Lynx drops down a tier since you won't get much return from the extra stamina beyond level 4. The Bison I also bumped down to B tier since while you still get some utility from it, you'll likely not be relying on it as much to compete in events the same way. The Cheetah is still somewhat helpful, but as a spender, you'll have more avenues to acquire the 1500 extra pet food per month beyond pushing an additional advancement level. However, it still makes some sense for cost avoidance of spending, especially since you're less likely to be bottlenecked by promotion medallions than a free-to-play player. The Moose rockets up to A tier with that health debuff. This is a must-have for rallies you are leading. The only reason it's not S tier is due to the relatively smaller percentage increase per level versus other combat abilities. The Lion, of course, stays at S tier. It is such a good growth ability that even a large spender will still get a lot of value out of the rare items it brings every day, not to mention the purple rarity attack and defense stats. The Grizzly Bear goes to A tier with its lethality debuff, just like the Moose. Again, it's extremely helpful and grows in usefulness the stronger your opponent is, but it's still only a 0.5% step up per ability level. The giant Rhino moves up to S tier given the size of the bonus. A 10% special bonus can mean over 100% gain on your total attack stat in a battle report when you start getting your total attack near 1000. This is a similar attack step up as moving to the next hero generation. Also, since it buffs the damage you deal, it helps in Bear Hunt while the health and lethality debuff abilities do not. Therefore, it's a very compelling choice for S tier. And finally, the Mighty Bison stays at S tier. Not only does this help increase the size of the rallies you lead, but it also helps you pack an extra 10% troops into your own Bear Hunt rally, which might yield enough points to increase your weekly Forge Hammer income, especially when combined with the Giant Rhino ability. And again, it's an orange tier pet, which means you can expect a larger stat gain as you progress through the advancement levels. Let me know if you agree with these tier lists in the comments. Would you put any of the pet abilities in a different position? And if you found this guide helpful, please be sure to check out the rest of the playlist and my channel for more helpful guides, tips, and tricks. Thanks again for watching, and happy gaming out there.